Podcast Studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now.
Hello, y'all.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. We got a little. Blah, blah, blah. Got a lot of good stuff today.
Yes, we do.
I can't speak,
Yes,
but I'll
we
get
do.
there.
All the names you love are coming to After 9 today, including Premier Doug Ford, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. We have a couple of people linked to Diddy, and those I think we should actually get to first because I'm impatient. I'm impatient because I know crimes were committed. I know people were victimized, and I know that other people knew this was happening and didn't say anything. And I feel like the best people that we can hear from are the ones on Diddy's inner circle. I don't know if we can trust Diddy to tell us the truth on who was and wasn't involved, but the bodyguard and the former hooker that he hired and stuff, they know some stuff.
Well, it's concerning because there's so many NDAs, but you wonder, like, does the NDA essentially get ripped up because Diddy's behind bars at this point? Feds have to overrule the NDAs, right? And again, that's something that we're probably going to talk with Sandra about. She's going to join us, Sandra Ziskin from Diamond and Diamond, on the podcast tomorrow. So we will get more involved in the whole law side of what's going on with Diddy during the pod tomorrow. However, when it comes to what came down, I want to mention before we play anything, the feds haven't made any more charges. There's no more arrest yet. There's no more arrests yet. No more charges have been laid yet. But the stuff that's going around right now, it's almost like there's too much happening now. Like I was in the rabbit hole and it was there, it was popping up. Now it's everywhere and there's so much of it. And every little thing a celebrity ever said about Diddy is now coming to light, which doesn't and shouldn't make them guilty immediately. There's stuff from the Kardashians. And again, maybe they are guilty, but I'm just saying, just because there's a clip of this happening years ago and they said, oh, it was a fun party, doesn't mean they were involved in the freak-offs. So we all just need to keep those things in mind. However, there's a lot of shit going around. What do we want to play here first?
Jaguar.
Okay, so Jaguar Wright. So this is another video from Jaguar Wright. I played it for you guys yesterday on the pod. She has no problem talking. And I told you the fascinating part about the amount of shit she's told us in the last year especially. She has not been sued by anybody whose name she has out of her mouth, which to me speaks volumes. Now, she is not saying that any of the following people in this clip that you're about to hear were involved in freak-offs. She's saying they were involved in a video, particularly in one video that Diddy sold on the dark web for a lot of money. Listen to this.
Why would he sell his tapes on the dark net? He's selling it because he needs the cash. The last freak-off tape that just got sold on the dark net, which I know because I monitor, went for $500 million. It had multiple stars in it. Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, Drake. It was a really interesting night in Calabasas, and he just sold that footage. Why would he...
Wow. Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. Who is Jaguar? This is a former escort that used to do work for Diddy. Is that right?
She was a singer. She's a singer.
She's a singer.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's not an escort. She was found.
But I'm really sorry.
She's a singer. Yeah, she actually has like legitimacy in the music industry from the late 90s, early 2000s. She was discovered by The Roots. She was brought on board to work with Jay-Z, which is why she implements Jay-Z in a lot of this and believes Jay-Z should be tried and charged at the least. And a whole bunch of other names that she mentioned. If you go back yesterday, you'll hear her basically calling out everybody who should be charged in this whole thing. She worked with numerous people and was very close with Diddy and but basically went to these parties, not necessarily the freak-offs, but she knew everything. She had inside people who were really in with him that told her everything. I don't know what she knows about the dark web. Like for me, for example, and you, I'm sure, what do we do? Where's the dark web? Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, you go to the regular web with www. How do you get to the dark web?
Thank you.
I don't know what goes on there.
I'm assuming it's a lot of undercover things, right? Well, this goes back to the Wayfair dressers that were like $23,000 aren't actually dressers. They were people. You know, like that theory, by the way, that's not Wayfair's already addressed this, guys. You can look back into it. I'm not saying that that's the thing. But they basically had alleged that people were selling people, but it was disguised as products on other platforms.
Right.
Like a Walmart marketplace, et cetera, et cetera.
Is that how much they're selling a kid for? Like $500,000? Is that the going rate? Like, I remember that Wayfair story, and a lot of people felt that was code.
Yes, correct. And Wayfair, again, did speak up on that. I don't know what ended up coming out of it or if there's still investigations. But yeah, no, they were selling it for like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. This is a tape that Jaguar says definitely implements a lot of people and was just one of the filthiest ones that he sold Keep in mind, she said this in May, so this was previous to his arrest, that he sold it on the dark web for $500 million. Who would buy this for $500 million?
Somebody that wants to have blackmail over the stars who are in the video. Hey, there's real wealthy people out there, real wealthy. And from what I hear, they're very much implicated in whatever's going on. What I can't tell is all this connected? You know, we've got the Epstein stuff, which we still don't know a lot about. And that's part of the reason I'm not optimistic we're going to get much of the Diddy details either. So you got Epstein, I think, was the foreign correspondent. He would have all the royalty from other countries and stuff like that come to his island, and they would do this kind of stuff. Diddy seems to be operating a different kind of thing. Again, trafficking people. Nearest I can tell, that happened in Miami, New York, and LA. Then you've got the politician aspect. We've been hearing for years rumors about what was going on in Washington. You probably remember the so-called conspiracy theory about Pizzagate. That's the exact same thing as Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein is involved in, except they operated this out of a front business, a pizza restaurant in Washington. There's also, we know this from WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, that the CIA and the FBI know that there's an online code, pizza and hot dogs. And if you want pizza and hot dogs, you're essentially asking for young children. Are the politicians involved? Well, we can't say for certain, but let's bring in Diddy's former bodyguard. He's talking a lot right now to anybody who will listen about Diddy.
It's bigger than Diddy, bro. Because you know who else they was doing investigation on during that whole time period? It was the mayor and the politicians in New York City. They turn around and give him the key to the city. All the mayor people that he brought on here in New York City are all resigning. They all resigning. People ain't gonna tie this together, but if you look at it, you have to say, because of Mayor Adams and his relationship with Diddy, it brought on the Southern District of New York to start investigating Diddy on civil lawsuits that was put against him. Because the feds is going after all these politicians in New York City.
Interesting.
Ooh, is it Roger Bonds? Is that his name? He's definitely going to be involved in 50 Cent's documentary as well that he's making. I think that 50 Cent made it very clear. He's like, I want you, come here. Let's bring in more people and anyone who is around him.
See, and I think that's the one that's real hard for people to wrap their mind around. We know something went on, but we don't know the details. People are speculating on names, and I'm interested in the speculation because, well, we don't seem to be getting any other information, and nobody seems to be proactive in putting it out there. But this is a really hard thing for some people to wrap their mind around because, let's say, for example, I'll just use a random example. Let's say Oprah. Oprah is idolized by so many people, millions who think she can do no wrong. She's my spirit animal. She's my guru. I love Oprah. She's perfect, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to accept that maybe Oprah could be involved. And I'm not saying that Oprah was involved. I'm just saying that's a name that of someone that you look up to, and you never want to think of them doing something wrong. You never want to think of Tom Hanks, Barack Obama, all these people that have been put up on such a pedestal. You never want to think that they possibly could have been involved in something so horrible. But the way the rumors are going, it seems like some people, maybe even some of the ones that I just mentioned, could be implicated in that. And I think that there's a lot of people who are going to have a real hard time accepting what's happened and that they had the wrong impression all along of some of these iconic people.
The other really strong rumor right now, and I'm saying multiple sources on this one, is that Jennifer Lopez and team are getting ready for it in case she gets either pulled in to talk or straight up charged. I don't know how it works. With whether or not she can be charged, but apparently at Diddy's place, he had proof that she lied to cops at the shooting of the nightclub shooting from when they dated. Like, it was right before they broke up. She told cops, no, it didn't come from Diddy's gun. But apparently he essentially has evidence to prove that she lied. And she knew full well she was lying to police. So if that's the case, statute of limitations, where do we stand on that? Something from about 25 years ago now? I don't know how that works.
But if you lied, you lied.
If you lied, you lied. Will she see the inside of a prison? I don't even think so. I feel like they'd probably work with her on something. But don't be surprised if you do hear that name pop up, just because we're hearing from multiple parties now. That's one of the reasons Ben was like, okay, I can't be involved in this because it's going to go down. That might not have nothing to do with that. But I'm just going to throw it out there that she could definitely be involved in one way or another, not necessarily in the freak-offs, but when it came to Diddy's shady past.
Okay. Let's switch gears here. Yesterday, Premier Doug Ford was out doing a news conference, and it was, I believe, a funding announcement. I didn't even get the gist of it because a few things that came out of that are really circulating online. We're going to talk about bike lanes in just a sec, something that affects every single person who uses our roads, bike lanes. That's coming up in a minute. First off, this one seems to be controversial. I kind of feel like it was a little misunderstood, but let's listen to the question and Premier Doug Ford talking about our homelessness problem here in Ontario.
The over 1,000 people that are currently on wait lists for affordable housing here in Northumberland County.
Well, first of all, let's just run through a few numbers. When it comes to homeless, we put $2.2 million within this community, and I'll pass it over to the mayor and the minister in a second. And another for the encampments, for the region, we put $2.47 million. And then the Canada Ontario benefits, housing benefits, there's over $200 million. Do you know what the best way to get people be able to get out of the encampments, get out of homeless?
Here we go.
Get an application and drop it off one of these companies and start working. You need to start working if you're healthy. Bottom line, if you're unhealthy, I'll take care of you the rest of my life. Your life will take care of you. But if you're healthy, get off your ASS and start working like everyone else is. Very simple.
Get off your ASS.
Yeah.
You dumb FUCKERs.
Just say it, Dougie. No, I get why he didn't want to say it, but at the same time, he said it. He said it. He said what he needed to say. And I think that people were looking far too much into what he didn't say and assuming that that's what he was saying. Mm-hmm. I saw comments on that from yesterday, like, well, if someone's in a mental health crisis, that's not what he was talking about. He said if you're fucking healthy, I'll say it for him. If you're fucking healthy and you're sitting there and you're just lazy as shit to get a job and taking checks from the government, get off your ass and work. And it's a tale as old as time. It's nothing new. But because we do have this higher homeless population right now, people don't want to say that people don't want to say it. But people have been doing it for years and years and years, Scott.
We had this conversation in the 90s, for those who don't remember. Maybe you're too young. We had a premier of Ontario who was wildly popular. I know history has been rewritten and they want to basically cancel him, but Mike Harris was an extremely popular premier in Ontario. One of the ways he got elected, there's two things. He was going to cancel photo radar, and somehow it's found its way back into Ontario. I don't understand that, but we did vote for a new government to cancel photo radar. And the other thing he wanted to do was called workfare. In other words, if you were someone who wanted to collect welfare, you needed to do something to earn it. If you couldn't get a job and you were collecting welfare, you had to work. Maybe it was volunteering at a soup kitchen. Maybe it was cleaning parks. It was not great work, but if you were going to be getting a handout from the government, you had to earn it. And some people said that was cruel. Some people said it was bizarre that we would go that route. And everybody was all in favor of it for a while, but then eventually that government fell, like all governments do. They reach a best before date and people are sick of them. So Harris was gone and we got rid of workfare, but that's essentially what it was. And I kind of get the impression that Doug's had enough, just like people had had enough in the 90s. The problem here is some people are criticizing him, saying it was, you talked about it. There's people that are angry about that.
Yeah.
What I don't know if Doug fully understands is just how bad it is out there on the job front. I don't know if we set up a photocopier at every encampment and said, print off your resume and start handing them out, I don't know how many of those people would come back with a job. It's not the same time that it was even 3 years ago. So while I do agree with the message, if you're an able-bodied person and you're just sitting around because I might as well just stay home. If I go to work, they're going to tax the crap out of it. And is it really worth it when the government will send me X number of dollars every month to not do anything? He's telling you you need to get up and at least go look for a job, at least try and find your place into society because you can't live off the handout forever. But it's such a tough job market, and there's no reason to think it's going to get any better anytime soon. And I think that that's where Doug miscalculated on that statement. I think that the small businesses are struggling right now, and they're the backbone of our economy. And when small businesses are struggling, they're not hiring. Even some of the big companies. You could probably go and get a job packing boxes at Amazon if you really tried. But I don't know how many Amazons there are to sustain a population that is broke and very underemployed at the moment. So I get the message, and I know there's a lot of people who are going to hear that and say, yeah, fucking right, Doug. And great. I mean, the message itself is good. If you're able-bodied, you should work and contribute to society. But when we're giving people as much money as we're giving them to stay home, why would they? Let me give you an example. A friend of mine just hired a new cleaning lady, and I was over at his house the other day. And he's like, yeah, the cleaning lady's here, so we'll just go out back. And I asked him, I'm like, oh, how'd you find her? What's the deal here? So here's the thing. This is someone who was just resettled here from Ukraine a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. She's driving a 2023 Ford Explorer, extended version, fully loaded. She gets several $1,000s a month from the government. Plus, being in Canada, you get the free health care and the dental care, and she would qualify for the free dental care. Most don't, but she would. And she's making $130 for a 2-hour or 3-hour clean, doing 4 of those a day on the side. She's making a lot of money, but half of it is coming from the government. She is working, but she's not paying taxes on that income because you got to pay her cash. Driving a way nicer car than most of us are. I feel like we've made it too enticing for people to stay at home. I think we have. And I hate saying that because there's people who need to be at home for whatever reason, health issues or whatever. They, I think, should get all the supports they need. The able-bodied ones who are able to work and aren't, that's who I think Doug is going after. And there's people who are making cash on the side, or they're just not working at all. And when a new immigrant the people who come here, refugees, what are they? The migrants. They're calling them migrants now. When they come to Canada, they get set. I mean, we're putting them up in hotels so they don't have a rent expense. We're giving them cash for food, all sorts of stuff. It's thousands of dollars a month per person. And I just don't think that that's that sustainable. But I also don't think there's jobs for any of them. I just watched my kids go through hell this summer as brand new university graduates. They couldn't even get a call back.
Yeah.
By the way, an update on that. My daughter starts at her new job today.
Hooray.
Thank the Lord. Oh my
God.
God.
So, I mean, yeah, it is tough. You're absolutely right. Entry level, anything. Everybody, did you guys see that when in KW, Longos is coming? And
you're going to love it, by the way. Longos is great.
Did you see how many people applied or went to the in-person?
It was packed, wasn't it?
It was that not everybody could even get an interview. It was lined up around the block. But anyway, it goes to show you there are absolutely people trying. And I think for the most part, those maybe were younger people. I could be wrong. Like I'm sure they skewed all ages. But bottom line for me, his and always has been, you should be trying if you're able-bodied and well and mentally sound. Right? Is the two things I would say. But there's a shit ton of people that sit at home and collect those checks and are able to work and are able to contribute to society and do nothing. And that, I think, is what he was speaking to. Not necessarily those, like a lot of the homeless population right now, and I know, unhoused, whatever you want to say, they are without homes and without addresses. That was another comment I saw was, it's harder when you don't have an address. Like you don't have there are some supports in every city and every region. And thankfully they are there to help you if you need a contact and to get started. And there's people willing to help you out regardless of you having a home address or not. But I think that he was speaking more to those people and not to those who are tenting out right now because they don't have a home and things are not going right for them. Do you know what I mean? I hope I'm making myself clear here.
It's there's so many layers to the issue. And we know that there's some people out there gaming the system. There's some people out there who are taking it because we offered it to them and didn't tell them they have to get off of it. There's any number of different examples out there. And I really would just like to get to a place where I know our tax dollars are being spent efficiently. And if they are being sent to people who aren't paying taxes on a monthly basis, it's only going to those who need it as opposed to those who just figured out it makes more sense for me to stay home. You know, we've made it as easy as possible as it's ever been to go out and work, in that, yeah, we do have subsidized daycare now. We've taken away a lot of the obstacles. The problem is we did that just in time for the job market to wash up, and there's not a lot of opportunity. But I do want to move on, because another thing Doug mentioned is bike lanes. It was rumored, and now confirmed to be true, that the Ford government was considering new legislation that would outlaw bike lanes on major arteries. In other words, what's a good city example here that everyone can relate to? We'll say Toronto. You're driving up Yonge Street. Wasn't a big road to begin with. What was it? 2 lanes in each direction. And now they're putting in bike lanes in the right lanes. So there's really only 1 lane of free-flowing traffic, and that doesn't make sense on the longest, busiest road in the country, or one of them anyway. Here's Doug explaining why he wants to go after bike lanes.
You go down on Hospital Row, University Avenue. Paramedics are trying to get someone to the hospital as quickly as possible. They take out a lane of traffic, put bike lanes in there. It's cut down to 1. It's jammed like crazy. Go on Bloor Street that they've disrupted all the businesses there. There's a petition just in Etobicoke for 50,000 people signing to get rid of these bike lanes. You might see 4 or 5 bikes as you see traffic lined up all the way down the road for kilometers and kilometers. Talk to our first responders that are pulling their hair out, the fire trucks that can't get across the road because there's barriers or there's bike lanes and they're backed up. Talk to our police that are trying to get to a call, or our paramedics. It's an absolute disaster. It's a nightmare, and we need to focus on transportation routes that get people from point A to point B in as quick fashion.
Okay. I mean, hey, that's another reason he's going to keep getting reelected for as long as he wants to be Premier of Ontario. The vast majority of Ontarians agree with that, because that is common sense. It doesn't make sense to send these bike lanes right down the middle of our busiest streets. I think it's dangerous for cars, dangerous for pedestrians and cyclists when there's perfectly other routes a block away that were much more free-flowing and wouldn't restrict traffic.
Yeah, and I think he's not afraid to say the uncomfy things that some people would be afraid to say. So coming from a non-cyclist, but I think it just makes sense, and the question I had today on the show when we taled about it,
if you need me to speak from a scooter person, I'm willing to do
right,
that.
Yeah,
I'll represent the scooter
when
riders.
you scooter to get the mail?
Yes.
Me on my stationary Peloton and you on your scooter to get the mail, we pretty much know everything we're talking about.
100%.
Okay, so here's the thing. We talked about this today, and when we talked about it on our show today, I mentioned I don't understand when city planners do these things. Do they? And it was kind of an open question. It wasn't meant to be, they should do this, or it was do they involve all parties? And by that I mean city planners, and maybe they do have meetings, but they don't make it be known. Like, we're going to discuss bike lanes. Hey, people in emergency services, especially because you're very, very important to this society. Why don't you weigh in on that? Because we did get some texts, and I'm sure it depends where you live, because maybe in some cases those people are involved and they work together. In a lot of cases, they don't, is what I learned. Some people who just say the city planners don't give a ish. It's just about they hear from the cyclists that are saying, oh, more cycling lanes. And they're okay, whatever you need. And not talking to other members of the society to make this work. Emergency vehicles is what I'm really talking about, because otherwise, who cares? Like, I understand it's not convenient for people when they feel like they're going to run someone over. A cyclist goes a little too far this way and your car's a little too far that way. Makes me nervous too. But more so about the emergency services. That's important. That's an important thing to know.
Huge.
So if we can take those off the main drag and put it on the side streets in any downtown or in any place, that seems to make sense to me. But what am I missing here? How does that not make sense?
So the thing about, you're absolutely right about Doug is starting to venture into that territory where he will say the uncomfortable things that a lot of people are a little uncomfortable saying. It's a left and right thing again. And there's a very left side that runs municipalities, and they're very in favor of environmental initiatives and bike lanes and all that sort of stuff. Olivia Chow is a great example, the mayor of Toronto. She really wants bike lanes everywhere. It's a war on cars in Toronto. They don't want cars on their roads.
Yeah.
They want people biking and cycling and stuff like that. The problem is it's never been anything more than a fantasy. We're not in a place where we've got this world-class transit system that people can just jump on. Outside of Toronto, transit is basically non-existent in most communities. So we need the cars. The cars are not going anywhere. In fact, I think if anything, people are doubling down on cars. gas powered, not even hybrid or electrics, because even those sales are way down. People want their roads. They paid for those roads. Cyclists do not, by the way, contribute to the road infrastructure in any way. So the car people who want their roads available to them and would like to be able to get from A to B in quick fashion don't want to put up with this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the people who are in charge municipally keep pushing this agenda, hoping that it'll catch on and it'll just become normal before anyone can do anything about it. I don't think it ever crossed their mind that Premier Ford is still the ultimate authority in Ontario, and if he tells the municipalities, get the bike lanes off the main roads, they kind of got to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to turn into a fight. It doesn't need to be a fight. I think anybody who asks someone who actually pays for that road infrastructure, and you do when you get gas and all these other things, I don't think they want these bike lanes running right down the middle of Yonge Street or King Street or whatever. They don't. Put it on a smaller, less busy street. It's safer. EMS has lots of room to get through and go where they need to go, and we can get traffic moving in a weird kind of a way. And maybe you environmentalists haven't thought of it this way. If we got those bike lanes off of the main streets and put them on the secondary streets, you can still get where you're going. It'll just be one block over, west or east or north or south. Less cars idling, sitting in traffic is going to create a lot less carbon in the air. If a car can just get going and get to where it needs to be, it's running a lot less than it is when it's sitting stuck in 2 kilometers of traffic because a bike lane has narrowed a 2-lane road into a 1-lane road. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, and Toronto is a different beast, man. I don't envy anybody who's a part of making decisions there because I feel like you can never win.
I agree with you. And, you know, it's funny because I feel like it's a big game of follow the leader. There's some smaller cities that look at bigger cities like Toronto and say, well, Toronto's putting in bike lanes right down Yonge Street. They're going up Bloor. They're going up this and that, blah, blah, blah. We got to do that too. It's completely unnecessary in a city like London. It's completely unnecessary in a city like Kitchener. It's completely unnecessary even in a city like Hamilton. You don't need that shit. Barrie, why are you building bike lanes in Barrie? Do you know how many roads there are to drive in Barrie for bikes? You don't need to do this. And it's just costing money and pissing people off, and it's taken up a lot of room on the roads that clearly the EMS is struggling with. So that's on bike lanes. If you want to weigh in on that, feel free to shoot us a text. We do have to move on, though, because it's not very often our prime minister, whoever that happens to be, ends up on U.S. late-night TV. But last night, Justin Trudeau was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Obviously both, but you have to be fundamentally hopeful in this job, and particularly in this time where the challenges are monumental. We don't have to list them. But if you don't believe that you can actually work with others and make a positive difference, then you're not on the right line of work. I mean, people elect us, send us into office for the time we're in to try and have the best impact on how the world is unfolding for them. And if you're not convinced that you can make a positive difference, then you're not on the right line of work.
They did talk a little bit about some Canadian political issues. They talked about the fact that today the Conservatives are going to introduce a motion of non-confidence. Colbert asked, how many times have you been reelected? And is it time to go? Or do you still have more to do? It was okay. I didn't love all of it. I don't know why he drags Pierre Poilievre into this one. Colbert, not even Trudeau. Colbert brought him up.
Yeah, that's right. I noticed that too.
He said, so you've got an opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre. He's like Canadian Trump, isn't he? I don't think anybody can prove.
What supposed to mean? Like,
what does that mean, and what do they have in common? They've never even spoken. So I don't know where he was going with that, other than to take a shot because he's left and Poilievre is right. Let's play just a little bit more of the Prime Minister. By the way, he did a very good job. I know people that don't like the guy want to shit on him, but
He's
Trudeau,
good.
he said what he had to say last night.
He's good, though. He's eloquent. I mean, you listen to him speak, and it's the reason why he gets elected, whether you like him or hate him. Like, perceive this from someone from another country watching this, which a lot of people in the U.S. watched it and are watching it now, and going, wow, what a well-spoken stand-up. Like, just seems like a cool guy. He's just very good he's very good with words.
Here's one thing, it's something that I'm sure that comes quite clearly when the UN General Assembly is that the far right and flirtations with fascism at the very least, is rising across the globe. Even in Canada, your Conservative Party leader, your opponent there, has been called Canada's Trump. And I'm sorry.
I mean, who told? Nobody here is calling him Canada's Trump.
I don't know.
I mean, where did
I don't
he
know.
get that from?
I don't know where he got it
about
from.
that. But I'm curious why at least some form of nativism or far-right xenophobia might grow in a country even as polite as Canada. Why do you think this is getting a foothold even in your country?
But, see, that phrase, even in Canada, I mean, we're not some magical place of unicorns and rainbows all the time. We got more than our fair share. But like the things that we've managed to do, we've had to work really, really hard at. I mean, universal health care was decades of trying to bring people together and make it happen. We've moved forward on world-leading fight against climate change with a price on pollution. We're moving forward with dental care for low-income Canadians. We're moving forward with $10 a day childcare.
Those are all things that Americans were probably watching last night thinking, oh my God, they have $10 a day childcare, and they have free health care, and they have free dental care. And just so you know, if you're American, we don't have any of those things at the moment. We have free health care, but you got to be able to access it. And I don't know, ask a Canadian how long it takes to get an MRI and how far you'll have to go to get it and what time of the day you'll have to go for that MRI.
Yeah.
People that need important emergency surgeries that are waiting. He paints a very nice picture. And I know that there was Americans last night that probably watched that and thought, wow, they got their shit together up there in Canada. It's kind of a misleading tale because a lot of that we don't actually have in play at the moment.
I mean, the main thing is we know what's going on. Everything comes at a cost, like regardless. So even if you're on the $10 a day childcare, that's great. But everything is really coming with a cost in Canada. The healthcare thing. Okay, great. Yeah, I can get an MRI. But everything comes at a cost. Here, it's going to take me 4, 5, 6 months, maybe, if I'm lucky, to get in because we don't have enough machines. Because we have too many people and not enough resources. That's the truth of it. We are spending money in places where we shouldn't be. So there's a lot of very, very fine details in there that matter, that add up. So again, it comes at a cost. I'd rather go across the border than have to wait 6, 7 months, especially if you're talking about something that could be deadly to you, So, but Americans don't see that or hear that. They just think, oh, you walk right into the facility, you get your CT scan and you walk out. How great. Hell to the no. After you see 15, doctors and get referred here or there in the next place, and then you get and then you get on the waiting list if you're lucky. And it's not as easy peasy as, of course, we're wrapping it up and about to be. I think we know that, especially when it comes to healthcare.
Well, that's the thing, right? Americans are going to see that and think, oh, wow, that's great. They've really got it together up there. They didn't tell you that they're going to take more than 50% of your paycheck to do it.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, it comes at a cost. All those things do come at a cost.
There would be a civil war if they tried to raise taxes in America to anywhere close to what we're paying in Canada. So, and by the way, if you are an American who watched that last night, do your research, do your homework. I know what he said sounds good, and God, he sounds good saying it. When Trudeau was in his element last night, he handled Colbert just fine. It wasn't like a hard-hitting interview or anything like that.
No.
But he did a good job, and he portrayed a good picture. But at the end of the day, 70% of Canadians, us polite Canadians, like Colbert mentioned, don't like the guy. They want an election. And you should ask, well, why is that? There's reasons for it. And if you've lived or been to Canada for any long period of time, you'll probably know that, well, we've got our issues here too. Finally, Amazon says us here in Canada can soon get our packages delivered right to the garage. Garage drop-off is available to Canadians who are enrolled in Prime and have a compatible MyQ smart garage door. Access to the service is available in 1,700 cities, towns, and neighborhoods in Canada. They say the Canadian launch is a way to offer shoppers convenience and help protect packages from weather damage and theft. They also say it'll be useful for people receiving costly or fragile goods. Have them locked up, out of sight, out of mind.
So when they gave details of this, or did they give details yet? And by details, I mean, if there's certain packages I do want in my garage that's worth opening the garage for, I sign up with a yep. And I can say no to others. Is this right?
It's kind of like that overnight delivery. You got to check the box for them to deliver it overnight.
Okay, good.
So garage delivery is available. If you want it for one item but not the rest, I guess you would just have to do separate orders. The MyQ Smart Garage, I've learned a lot about it, including that I have one. I didn't even know I had one.
Yeah.
So I've got an app that I can control my garage door with. I can also assign temporary codes, just like a Nest lock. So if I give the Amazon guy the code 9999, he just goes to the garage, enters 9999, enter, boom, he puts your package in, 9999 again to close the garage, and he's on his way. A lot could go wrong here, though.
Well,
a
yeah.
few times I've driven away, I swear I closed that garage door and it's
Yeah.
still open.
This is where I get a little. There's two parts to it where I'm a little less likely to say yes to it. I mean, by all means, if you're getting a very expensive package or you're worried about weather damage, as we approach winter, we all know how it goes. Maybe you don't have a covered porch too, right? Like for me, I have a covered porch, so usually they'll put it on the porch, and that's great, and it's fine. But of course, there's the more expensive items that you can worry about a little bit. Here's my concern with the garage door thing is, and I obviously just think the worst right away because that's just the type of person I am. There's been a lot of thefts from Amazon delivery drivers, first and foremost. So it's not the driver, and I know there's some people who wouldn't trust the driver, and that's fine. You can trust who you want to and don't want to. It's not even necessarily the driver and the delivery person that I wouldn't trust. It's the amount of thefts that are coming from following the truck. There's a lot of people following these trucks. They're very, very familiar with who these people are that are delivering packages. In some case, they watch and they wait for what looks like a pretty good package, and they will literally nab it the second the Amazon driver pulls off. Sometimes they don't even wait. I don't know if you've been down that TikTok rabbit hole.
No.
Lots of TikTok videos online. If literally the Amazon driver pulls out the phone to take the picture of the damn package, and someone comes up, swipe, and runs like hell because they're following these drivers. So I know, guys, it's not like that's definitely going to happen to you. And what the likely scenario is, I don't know. But the fact that that is possible, that I open my garage door or they open my garage door, all my shit is now vulnerable. It's not just my package that can get taken. It's all of the tools and the things that you might have in your garage. And for some people, they don't have much in their garage. They're like, I don't care. It's my garbage, right? Cool. Some of us have valuable items in our garage, or we don't want to worry about our door to the inside of our house being unlocked at that time too. So for those reasons, I'd be a little more skeptical of doing it.
I think it's good to have the option.
Having the option's fine. That's what I mean. Like, to each their own, right? To each their own. If that makes you comfortable and you're like, yeah, oh my God, that would be great because I live by myself. So I'm never there when the packages arrive. Or I do buy expensive items on Amazon, or I do buy frequently on Amazon. All those reasons, maybe it makes sense for you. You have to understand, you have to just juggle it with what is being delivered. Is it valuable enough where I'm considering it, or am I just going to take a chance? Or do I have a neighbor that can grab it for me? Or am I able to, schedule myself to be home at that rough time that is going to arrive? All those things you have to decide for yourself.
We have a meeting in 10 minutes, so I'm going to...
yeah, we got to go.
One thing, it is about a minute long. Mike Tyson, a friend of After Nine.
Oh, God, we love Mike.
And apparently a listener as well, last night on Jimmy Kimmel.
I don't know if you realize that every middle-aged man is rooting for you with an intensity that almost makes no sense. Like, I really want you to beat this guy.
I don't look at myself as a middle-aged man, though.
I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about you.
Well, listen, none of us really know how old we are. Julius Caesar said we're 365 days a year in the year.
Yeah.
Before he was born, how did we know how old we were?
Right, but he's been dead for a long time.
I know. He didn't live too long.
I mean, he's still got a palace, but he's dead. I mean, that's the fact.
But what I'm saying is that I feel really good.
Do you feel like you're fighting for something other than just Mike Tyson? You're fighting for guys your age, in a way? People your age?
I've never thought that before.
You never thought that?
Hey, Mike,
I
are.
believe him. No, but I believe him. I believe that he truly just doesn't think of how old he is, how hurt he might get doing this, how difficult it's been to train compared to 20, 30 years ago for him. I truly believe that Mike Tyson is just on this very focused zone, which is good, and it's where he should be.
How weird is it? 3 episodes after we had a good conversation about time.
The construct of time.
That now Mike Tyson is talking about the construct of time.
I know.
We have every reason to believe that Mike Tyson is a regular After 9 listener. And Mike, thank you. We love you, and we're sorry.
We do. You're the best. You're the best.
You are the best. You come on here anytime you want, and we'll apologize in person.
We will.
We'll talk about whatever you want.
If you didn't like any of this podcast, I apologize, Mike.
We'll delete it.
You know what? We will. We'll redo it if you want. You want us to do it better? We will.
You just reach out, Mike. Whatever you want.
Anytime.
You got it.
Anytime.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow with Sandra Ziskin from Diamond & Diamond Lawyers as our special guest.
Goodbye, friends.
Over 140 world leaders are arriving in New York City for the UN General Assembly. Yep, it's that special time of year when you get to see the King of Norway buy a fake Rolex from the Times Square Elmo.
Garden Restaurants has announced a new partnership with Uber Direct to offer delivery from Olive Garden, though your driver will be pretty pissed the 7th time you make him go back for unlimited breadsticks.